Hi Year 7. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at some of the selection tools in order to cut our animals out of the backgrounds and place them together with our other animals. So what the selection tools do are select a part of an image. So very quickly, the magic wand, it will select a part of the image. Okay, if I wanted to paint in that or rub that out, it would only rub out that area. Okay, so that's what selection tools do. So we're going to move through them. The first one I'd like to show you is the rectangular marquee. It will delete. If I click and hold and I drag, it will delete a rectangle. Okay, Control D, just using my history palette to go back. All right. When I am deleting, just make sure you are on your mask layer, okay? If you're on your mask layer and you're deleting, it means you can put it back, which is really essential when we get to blending. Okay, there's some other ones under there that work very similar to the rectangular marquee tool. The next one I'd like to show you are these selection tools here. There's the Lasso Tool. It works by drawing around and make sure we're closing it off. When we close a selection, okay, it will have our marching ants and we can press delete. Now that's all well and good, but I actually wanted to keep my elephant, so Control Z. If we want to say to Photoshop, can you select everything but my selection? So for example, the background here, we need to select the opposite. To do that, we go to the obvious choice up here, the select menu, and we go to inverse and we press backspace. That way we inverted the selection and it is opposite. So that's the Lasso tool there. That's very handy when you just want to do a sort of quick or rough selection. Okay, Control D, deselect. Some other ones here that we can use, the magnetic lasso tool and the polygon. Polygon just works very similar, but it works with straight lines. When we close off a selection, you'll see that little circle. Okay, it's handy when you need to delete a little bit of mess and you don't want to be so accurate in using the magic wand. Okay, magnetic lasso tool. Let's see how this works. I'm going to hold down Alt and move my mouse wheel. Okay, so what the magnetic lasso tool does, it acts like a magnet. So it's sticking to the edges of our subject here. Now, you might hear my mouse clicking. Every so often you should click. That just reminds Photoshop where it's going, and if you go so far and you make a mistake without clicking, you'll lose it all and you'll be very frustrated. Okay, so you can see how that's working there. Close that off. And when you're selecting, I recommend not trying to do it all at once. Just do little bits at a time, because we get just delete little bits as you go, and that way you won't make a mistake and have to go back and do the whole thing again. Control D. This magnetic lasso tool would work really well for something like this. Now, if I quickly use my magic wand, okay, it's going to have a really hard time selecting and differentiating that area there because it's very similar in color. So look what the magnetic lasso tool will do there. It's going to stick to this edge really nicely. Okay, just make sure you're clicking. Make sure you're clicking. Okay, I'm just going to come around here. I might just grab the edge of this to show you how it's working. Okay, I'll just close that off there. And if I press backspace or delete, you can see I've got a nice cutout of that trunk there. All right. Just going to go back. That there is the magnetic lasso tool. Okay, let's move on to my favorite, the magic wand. Okay, here it is here, magic wand. Now, magic wand default, you'll notice, is set to 32. So I'm going to show you how it works here. Now what Photoshop is doing, it's selecting areas of similar color. So I'm clicking on this blue and it's selecting everything that's similar to it. Now you might say, Photoshop, I want you to be less fussy. I want you to pick up more colors. So to do that, we increase this. I'm going to increase it to 50 because when we increase it, we make it bigger, we get more colors. Okay, you'll notice that selection is actually bigger than it was before. Okay, if I click in the same area, it's bigger. If I move it up to 100, let's just see what happens. Okay, it selects even more, but in our case, we've gone too far because it selected some of our elephant. Okay, I'll show you when we make it smaller. I'm going to make it 15 and select that same area. Can you see it's actually a smaller area? All right, if I go down to 5, the area gets smaller. Okay, so we can play around with the tolerance or fussiness of that. I'm just going to set it back to 32 and let's see how it's working. Right, that's a pretty good selection. Now, if I hold down Shift, I can actually add. So I'm holding down Shift and clicking. I can add, and it's making my selection bigger and bigger and bigger. That's quite a nice selection around there, around the elephant. So I'm just going to press Delete and Control D. Okay, that's a really good selection around there that my magic wand achieved. Let's keep going down here and see how it works. Okay, magic wand. Right, now we can see that Photoshop is picking up similar colors and it's selecting too much, so we need to make it fussier. So I'm going to bring this down to select less colors. So I'm going to bring it to 15 and see if we can get a selection holding down Shift to add, Shift to add. Okay, you can see that's a much better value to have in with my magic wand than 32 because it's being fussier now. Fantastic. Now press backspace, Control D. It's all a little bit messy in here, but what we've done is had a good cutout around this detailed area. Okay, hold down Shift. So just little bits by little bits. Now all that mess that you see here, you could do a few things. You could get the rectangular marquee and just delete bits and pieces of it. Another thing we could do is the obvious choice is to get our eraser tool. Set it to 100% hardness in this case because we're not blending, and you can of course adjust the size. We should know this, and I can just paint that away. Now year 7, what I don't want to see in your work is this. I don't want to see bite marks. Okay, that to me shows you haven't been accurate. So I could go back in my history tool here, or the beauty of us using this mask layer, if I over here in the tools with our colors down here, if I press these little arrows and change it to black, look what happens. I can actually paint it back. And like I said, that's the beauty of a mask layer. Okay, paint that back. Change it back over to white, switch. Okay, and I can paint that away. All right. Now, the reason that I like to put a colored background in, I'll just show you how to do that. New layer, edit, fill, color. I'm going to select the pink, press OK. Drag it right to the bottom. Okay, and that way you can actually see all the mess that you still need to clean up. I've actually gone too far here, if you can see. Oops, change it back to white. Oops, what's my problem? I'm on the wrong layer. Let's go back to our elephant mask layer. Okay, and I can come in and tidy up in here. Make my brush smaller, much smaller. Okay, so that's the magic wand. Okay, you can use that to cut out your animal. It's looking good so far. I'm going to show you some other tools that you might say can help you cheat a little bit and get the job done a bit faster, but depending again on the image. Let's go to the quick selection tool. Okay. So make sure we're on our correct layer, our elephant layer. Now what it's doing is quickly selecting is what it's doing. It's sort of working like the magic wand, and now I'm clicking and I'm holding. But what you'll notice is it's not quite as accurate. Oh, that's pretty good actually. It's not quite as accurate. You can see a little bit of mess in there that you could go and clean up. You can use these up here. Let me just see if it works before this never works for me. Yeah, I don't find this very accurate, this one, but you can see if it does work for you. That's the quick selection tool. So it sort of grabs everything like the magic wand using your edges. Control D. 2 other tools before we go. We are going to use the object selection. Now this one is like magic. Let's see if it works. So the object selection, you grab this tool and you draw a marquee around. Now what Photoshop is going to do is try and select the object that it sees within that selection. Again, it's not super accurate. You can see we've got a little bit of a horn missing and some feet missing, but look what we can do here. Now, all of these selection tools have this little functionality in the properties bar where you can add to the selection and subtract from the selection. So we want to add to down here. So add to the selection. I'm going to zoom in. Make sure you're zooming in and you draw a little rectangular marquee around it. And you can see the area that you want to add. The area that you want to add. Now this works to subtract as well. Good. So just do little bits at a time. I find you can be more accurate. Okay, that's looking good. Let's see if we can fix our horn up here. Now we want to add to the selection to add the horn. So I might just do little bits at a time and see how we go with it. That didn't work, did it? Control Z. Here we go. See if we can add that. Okay, and I might just do subtract now. See if I can get that little area looking good. Here we go. Okay, that's looking good. So that there was the object selection tool. Now if I press backspace, whoops, we delete our elephant. Remember, we want to do the opposite. So we go to select, inverse, backspace. Okay. So very quickly, if I swap the colors over and I press backspace again, look what happens, it comes back. Okay, so remember swapping our colors white and black. Let's try one more thing to see if the magic of Photoshop works. Okay, I'm going to say to Photoshop, okay, well, can you select the subject that you see in this image? Ta-da! It works again, but you'll see that we need to use our add to and subtract from selections to go and fix up that little bit of a messy work. All right. Just say, press backspace. Okay, just say I wanted to only delete a part of that image. I could just get my eraser tool here, nice big, and I could just delete a part of an image if I wanted to. That's the beauty of a selection tool. So year 7, I hope that takes you through the main selection tools, and you need to select those accordingly to your image and what you'd like to achieve. Just remember to zoom in, make sure you've got the right layer selected, make sure you're on your mask layer, and press Control D or Enter if things are stuck and things aren't working. Thank you.